And of course, a lot of those people have very strong points there, asking that the Minister of Petroleum be asked questions, basically about the National Assembly. And it's one of the things that, we've repeatedly seen that is missing when we have these conversations, with, seeming mismanagement of our petroleum sector and the inability of Nigerians to buy something as simple as petrol. The failure to fix our refineries decades and decades and decades, past, and many of all these, questions, subsidy and the confusion surrounding it as well. Do we have National Assembly who is going to look into these things and, of course, raise the right questions or not? Now, Nigeria has commenced production of petrol for the first time in 28 years at the Dangote Refinery. The 650,000 barrels per day facility has concluded test production and will begin sales immediately. This development is expected to bring relief to Nigerians experiencing petrol scarcity and save the country billions of dollars in foreign exchange.
The refinery will produce 330,000 barrels of petrol daily, meeting over 1% of global demand. The Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, NNPCL, will be the sole buyer of the product. We're joined this morning by Public Affairs Analyst Nnaemeka Obiaraeri. Good morning, Mr. Obiaraeri. Thank you very much for joining us.
Good morning, Olives. Thanks for having me.
All right, let's get into the details. Exciting times for the very first time in 28 years. Do you see this maybe as a big step in the right direction in dealing with Nigeria's energy crisis?
Yes, it's a very, very massive step in the right direction. Very, very massive sense is that coming on stream of Dangote Refinery, we actually finally help us to cure this inability of Nigeria to actually understand and appreciate and estimate its daily PMS consumption, which we started experiencing since 2010 under Desiani and Jonathan. And between 2000 to 2007, it was very easy for Nigerians to know the volume of PMS we consume in Nigeria, which is the gasoline. And that was why between 2000 to 2007 under Obasanjo, the number increased just from 22 million liters a day to 27 million liters in a period of 8 years. And this rate of consumption corresponds with the same rate of increase within other countries that share the same demography as Nigeria. And that is why after the debacle of 2011, 2012, when the National Assembly discovered that out of the 52 million liters that were claimed then by the NNPC then to have imported into Nigeria, working with Ponzi marketers, it was only about 29 million that came in, and people were meant to refund money. But the madness started in 2015 when Buhari became president. All of a sudden, Nigerian number went back to 52, 58, 66. In fact, it even got to a ridiculous level of 72 million liters a day. And if you even look at the records, January to July 2023, NNPC, there was even a time in March they told us they imported 72 million liters and we consumed it here a day, which is not true. And then in July 2003, 23, it came down to 43, and we all clapped for them. Of course, even that at that 43, it is still way above the numbers that NDPRA, the former DPR, declared was our daily consumption, 38 million. Then all of a sudden, January, February, the number went up 61 million liters a day, which is madness. So what Dangote Refinery had done for us, we are practically going to be sure with some layers of transparency. We will expect Dangote Refinery to publish on a daily basis the volume of PMS, that GHO that they release into the Nigerian market. It will help us to cure this malaise that have been eating up Nigeria. We have been paying subsidies on what we consumed and what we did not consume. So Dangote Refinery will help us to reduce the over $24 billion, which is almost 40% of our FS expenditures demand, because based on what is obtainable now, we'll be able to know what we consume, know what we are not consuming, and then save us some level of forex pressure. And if we're able now to diversify our economy in the non-oil sector like oil and agri sector and agro value chain, and begin to export more than we consume. Right. Over time, Naira may appreciate over the dollar. And when the Naira appreciates over the dollar about 1,200, this PMS price will still come down, which is good for the economy.
Okay. I mean, there's also parts of, the whole conversation that are a bit confusing, or that Nigerians have, questioned. And one of them, of course, is the NNPC being the sole recipient of PMS from the Dangote Refinery. People have pointed out the Petroleum Industry Act and other, directives. So, can you clarify, if there's anything wrong with the NNPC being the only the body that receives PMS from the Dangote Refinery? Independent marketers also, meant to be able to get into the petrol market as well.
Let me explain to you why NNPC. I'm not holding brief for NNPC because I cannot hold brief for them.
We just want clarity.
Yes. So because they're one of the most corrupt entities in the history of Nigeria. Basically, why NNPC is the sole off-taker is because the PMS prices are still being subsidized. For our information, as at Tuesday, 2 days ago, the Brent, the price of a barrel of a Brent in the market, for global market, was about $72.74. Remember that Dangote is getting the products in Naira, but that doesn't mean that we just give him the product at arbitrary rate. There is a ruling rate. We have a very transparent foreign exchange market, which Nnaemeka had also put in place, and which is kudos to him, because before now we used to have multiple exchange rate market. Today we have a single rate that is transparently determined by the voice of the man supplying the market. As at the Tuesday, the number was about 1,617 naira to $1. So if you multiply 72.74 by 1617 and divide it by the volume of PMS, or the volume of a product in the byproduct in a barrel, you discover that it will actually be at 747 naira per liter. And then by the time you add in the cost of financing, cost of operation, Dangote is not a Father Christmas or Santa Claus. You may discover that Dangote may sell his PMS at 967, 1,100 naira per liter. There is no marketer out there that will deliberately go to buy product from Dangote and now compete with NNPC filling stations that are going to be selling at 855, 865. Nobody will do it. Product is still being subsidized at the current market rate of 855. What had happened is that our subsidy rate will come down from 600 naira per liter to about 260 naira to 345 naira per liter, because the market is still not fully deregulated, just where we have it in the gas oil and the aviation market. As long as the market is not fully deregulated, where somebody can go in, buy your product, price it the way you want it, and then export and then sell to your end users, Dangote remains. NNPC will keep on taking it because they are the only ones that have the buffer, an arrangement with the federal government of Nigeria, where they will under recover whatever is not paid for, and the federal government will reimburse them. That is why NNPC is still the sole buyer of Dangote products. If the market is fully regulated today, and Nigerians are meant to buy product at the right price, which is about 1,100, 1,200, other marketers are free to go to Dangote, just like the HEO. Nobody is being stopped from buying the HEO from the Dangote refineries. The marketers are buying HEO from Dangote refineries. So if the market for the PMS is fully deregulated today, just like the HEO or aviation fuel,
all right. Seeing as right now, we've not yet deregulated, and conversations about the deregulation of the downstream sector have been on for a while. One of the concerns that we've also heard expressed is the monopoly of the market. Monopoly in the sense that Dangote has been the sole provider right now, the sole seller, and the NNPC being the sole buyer. There are those who worry about what the pricing points might be, and that because Dangote now, in a sense, has a monopoly of the market, he can decide what price he should sell, even though he said that the FEC will be the one to determine what the price is. But there are those who worry about the monopoly. Is that a concern you have in terms of pricing?
No, I don't think there's any reason to fear for now, because the federal government of Nigeria, through the NNPC, did not outrightly ban any importation. Anybody is free to go and import PMS, get the license from NNPC, and import if you think you can competitively sell and you make money below what Dangote is doing. And remember again, at the current production capacity, Dangote will be doing about 25 million liters of 25 million liters of the PMS every day. Nigeria consumes, conservatively, the real factual number, about 38.5 million liters of the PMS every day. So what Dangote is still producing as at now is still way below the daily consumption of the Nigerian market. So there is still need for NNPC to augment what Dangote is doing through the importation from other vendors like the Glencores, the Ford, the Petrols, and the Trafigurants of this world. But overall, I believe that we must totally deregulate the market. And let me explain to you, Nigerians have always clamored, how come the price is not coming down? If we want the price of the PMS to be very stable, to come down to the level where it can never go above 600 naira per liter across all the product value chain, gas oil, gasoline, we have proposed a very unique structure, and which we are, if time permits me, we repeat again. We currently have 2 refineries, the Port Harcourt and the Warri, with combined refining capacity of about 335,000 barrels a day. All the federal government of Nigeria compel the NNPC, Minister of Finance incorporated can do it. Let them put that refinery in a bucket, value them, sell down 80% of the shareholding in those refineries, just like it did in 2007. 30% to core investors, 50% to Nigerians, list it on the floor of the Nigerian Stock Exchange. Allow the new investors to collocate additional 160,000 barrels a day. Now, under this arrangement, there's a 444,000 barrels meant for those refineries under the joint venture arrangement. Hand it over to the new owners or give them marginal fuel. But under a special arrangement, they will do what we call cost plus defined margin of 30%. And what is that cost? The highest cost of production of crude oil in Nigeria is $31 per barrel. To refine a crude oil, a barrel of crude oil is about $10, amortized over time. That's $41. 30% margin is about $12 additional, which is $53. If this is arranged, and then we set up a bulk petroleum purchasing company that is going to be peopled and owned by Tapman, Ipman, Moman, and the other agencies in Nigeria to ensure that these products are not kited out. If we do it, no matter the fluctuations in crude oil prices in the world, we will get the PMS, the HU, the aviation fuel anywhere in Nigeria at a cost of not more than 650 naira per liter. And again, it will help us to, those volumes will be off OPEC. Then the OPEC, the ones we will be producing under the OPEC quota, we will certify. We can actually ramp up output to about 2.53 million barrels a day. And we will now amend the PIA. Nobody again is going to get marginal fuel or OPL unless you are going to connect with the refinery here in Nigeria. Nothing stopped Nigeria from producing enough to take care of the whole of West African market. After all, Brazil, with a crude oil reserve of only 15 billion barrels, refines 2.4 million barrels every day in 19 refineries, far more than what they consume. And they export to the whole world. Nigeria can do the same thing, and this country will be better for it.
Speaking of, what will be better for the country, there have been talks about the privatization of the Warri and Kaduna Refinery. Some have kicked against it. What are your thoughts, about that?
Kaduna Refinery should be scrapped. Anybody telling you that he wants to repair Kaduna Refinery is deceiving you, because first of all, Kaduna Refinery was built not to use any of Nigerian crude, Brent, but to use the heavy Venezuelan crude. And the pipelines that move from the Escravos or any of the Atlas schools all the way to Kaduna had been compromised. I will advise, if we cannot get any arrangement or heavy crude from the shore, we should just scrap the Kaduna Refinery or just turn it into a storage tank. But for the Warri and Port Harcourt, those ones can quickly, as a matter of urgency, be privatized. And in the longer run and the overall interest of Nigeria, we are not the only oil producing country. NNPC has remained opaque because we have refused to do the right or develop the political way to take the right steps. If you look at Brazil, Petrobras is only owned 28% by the Brazilian government. 72% shareholding now owned by institutional investors. And it is listed on the Brazilian Stock Exchange. If we do this thing for the NNPC, I tell you the truth, annually we will generate nothing less than $30 billion into this economy as new investment across the whole oil and gas value chain. And remember that oil and gas actually are working capital. Nigeria should not even depend on it wholly. We can actually diversify this economy in a way that we can regenerate nothing less than $450 billion, both from oil and gas and oil and gas sector. Mr. President has enunciated his vision. I want to build a $1 trillion economy. It's a very lofty and achievable vision. If we can totally unbundle, execute leadership and institutional reforms at the NNPC and Petroleum Ministry, I tell you of the truth, he can even achieve that $1 trillion economy size before 2027.
All right. I mean, these are ifs, and of course, it would happen if we have a government that truly is invested in those dreams as well. We've been hearing about, the Port Harcourt Refinery and the time adjusted. It was meant to start in August. We're currently in September. They probably would push it again to the near future, and maybe into 2025. Nobody knows. But do you see Port Harcourt Refinery at any point coming, to life under the current administration? Do you also see full deregulation that you've mentioned coming into, fruition at any point, during the current administration? I also want you to quickly share, was looking at the, based on the first question I asked, about monopoly. I think Oliver also mentioned that the Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Act. Just to share if this, is in any way relevant in this conversation. The Act, of course, the restrictive agreements aspect of the Act, Section 59, subsection C says. Goes against limiting or controlling production or distribution of any goods, services, markets, technical development or investment, subject to Section 108 of this Act. And it also speaks about any agreement among undertakings or a decision of or an association of undertakings that has the purpose of actual or likely effect of preventing, restricting, or distorting competition in any market is unlawful and subject to Section 61 of this Act. So does this Act in any way have any relevance with the agreement between Dangote and the NNPC?
No, to be honest with you, the agreement is, Dangote is a refinery. Dangote can sign agreement with Petrol, he can sign agreement with Glencore. He has the right to sign agreement with any entity. NNPC, as of today, in the books, is known as NNPC Limited, but we know that in ownership structure, it's not a limited liability company. Dangote can also sign with any of the other global oil marketers. But it's true that based on the fact that the market is still being deregulated here, it does not make any sense for anybody to even go and sign an agreement to bring product and then sell at a loss. Now, on the issue of the refineries, will they work? The truth remains that with the current leadership at the NNPC, I have no faith in whatever they say. Because remember, the current GMD of NNPC told us gleefully in 2018, in 2019, that before Buhari leaves office in May 2023, that those refineries will work. And I want to even believe that it was on the strength of those promises and concrete oaths sworn that Mr. President quickly removed subsidy, thinking that he will have buffers from those refineries. And what would have expected? Look at what Nnaemeka Obiaraeri did in the central bank. Nnaemeka Obiaraeri entered Central Bank of Nigeria. He knew that there was serious institutional rot, human capital rot. He did a massive clearance. Even last week, he sacked about other bunch of human beings. He sacked everybody, cleared up the backlog. Today, at the central bank, you can easily see what they are doing. Most of his policies, which is 5% of the problem, are spot on. Now, at the NNPC, we expect the federal government of Nigeria. When Mr. President was sworn in and he removed subsidy, it was predicated on two things. Those refineries working, and then our output going up. And for over the last 15 months, we have seen clearly that the leadership at NNPC are incapable in terms of competency, in terms of integrity, and everything to fulfill their promises. What would have expected, Mr. President, by now to have pulled the rug, just like Nnaemeka Obiaraeri did, by clearing the mass of human beings there and appointing technically savvy, honest, and professional operators to run those places. Tell NNPC and NDPRA, when he had done this, then these people now will kickstart the process of unbundling that place to make it more efficient, more transparent, and more profitable for Nigeria. You cannot put old wine, a new wine in an old bottle, and it will leak. That is why I expected even the people who made those promises to have even voluntarily resigned. Nigeria, see the kind of sufferings Nigerians are going through. We've wasted over 4 trillion naira from 2015 till now. Those refineries are not yet working. These are refineries that were built in 13, 16 years. They are not even older than other refineries in other parts of the world that are still working. The problem is the inefficiencies because it is public sector owned, and you cannot tell me that if these refineries were owned by Harade Group or Watersmith, the management and the board will still remain there. It's not possible. They will have been fired.
All right.
Yeah.
Let's talk about, what the implication of Dangote Refinery now producing petrol will mean for our FX. There was an investors meeting a while ago where, when Godwin Emefiele was still the governor of the CBN, and in answering questions, he mentioned how, floating the naira should be done after Dangote Refinery starts production, because then the pressure on the naira would have reduced, it would have stopped, hemorrhaging at the time. So is this something maybe you think that the government of the day should do now or should have done at this time? You know that last year when the naira was floated, our currency has tanked, and a number of people have criticized, a number of experts have criticized that move by the government at the time. Would it have been a decent time now that Dangote has started production for us to then float the naira?
See, the truth is, Oliver, there is this mistake that we make of thinking that because naira is at 1,100, that is why we have all the, yes, it's part of it's a major contributor to the inflation because we did not manage the underlying factors that were supposed to have supported the two policies that the federal government of Nigeria pulled out and spot on. Because before this government came into play, Nigeria had over $632 billion inflow and $450 billion inflow. Net, Naira and the dollar should have been at 170 Naira to $1 when Buhari left office. But because of the corruption, because of the multi-layered, FX markets, there were a lot of round tripping and money laundering. We lost over 180 billion through back doors, and that is why Naira suffered. And by the time the federal government, this government came into be, we had output at less than 1 million barrels a day, and the downstream sector was riddled with all amount of corruption. What would have expected? That is why the box still falls on the president table. He is the commander-in-chief, the petroleum minister. Truly, if you believe so much in his lead agenda, which I believe he believes, what he would have done was to clear out the people there and appoint new people. And it's not yet too late for him to do it. And again, even at 1,000, if we achieve FS stability, even at this 1,600 Naira rate, and Nigerians are able to ramp up output, fix insecurity, and drive the economy and the income level of Nigerians, this country HDI will go up. Because in fact, look at Singapore, look at Vietnam. Vietnam dong is 24,000 dong to $1. But Vietnam has a far better higher development index, far better welfare for their citizens, far better life expectancy rate because of the one fact that they became massively productive. Annually, they export nothing less than $356 billion worth of commodities. That your currency is weak is not a disadvantage. It's actually an advantage if you mobilize production, if you mobilize security, if you instill transparency in your most critical focused sector, which is agri and which is oil and gas. It is not yet late. I tell you of a truth. If we can execute the same massive reform that Petrol did, if we can execute the same massive reform that we have at NLNG, in NNPC, and we do the right thing, in 6 months, Nigerians will be shocked at what this country will turn around. But the buck still is on Mr. President table. Why they are still dragging their feet in executing that urgently needed leadership and social reform at NNPC is only a mystery that can be explained by them.
Yeah. All right. Nnaemeka Obiaraeri, thank you very much for joining us this morning. There's a lot of ifs, and only time will tell, if the current administration will take these things seriously, or maybe they have better plans. We'll get to know as time passes. Thanks for your time once again. We'll speak with you again pretty soon.
Thank you for having me.